Hello, my name is Michael Lambert, and today I want to talk about Brexit. I want to talk about how it is, I think, probably the stupidest and most damaging decision that we have ever made. And I think people are just beginning to realise how damaging it is and how foolish it was and how much it is costing us all and how much it is going to go on costing us all. I think there's a general atmosphere of anxiety throughout the country. I know there are other things going on, but even so, there's a general level of anxiety and I think apprehension about what is going to happen and how we're going to survive, considering that everything is going so badly. And so I really wanted to focus on that. Now, I started thinking the other day about when we were last, as a nation, when we were last doing really well. And I kept thinking back to London 2012 when we ran the Olympics in London and how extremely successful that was. You know, running the Olympics is an extremely complicated and difficult thing to arrange, and it was all done so well. And we demonstrated fantastic organisational ability, and it all went off so smoothly. We had an opportunity to demonstrate with the opening ceremony our history and so on. And in the closing ceremony, we had all our musicians and so on showing how we were really a force in the world in popular light entertainment and so on. And it was a great success in terms of sport as well. We all remember Jessica Ennis and Mo Farah, and I think the same year Andy Murray won Wimbledon and so on. And so I think as a nation we felt really buoyed up by that, and things were going pretty well anyway. I think we were all, there wasn't this, we hadn't yet been taught by the government to hate people from the EU and foreigners generally. There wasn't any overt xenophobia the way there is now. And I think although, whatever the circumstances are at any time, there are always some people who will not be doing well, who will be suffering one way and another. And I think at the time of the Olympics, austerity, Osborne and Cameron's austerity was beginning to bite a bit, so everything wasn't perfect. But I think as a nation we felt very confident at that time, and I think we had such potential then to do so many things. And we were a great innovative nation. We were a nation that's produced so many famous and successful people, and we had great potential then. But then, of course, about that time, Farage started shouting his mouth off about how we'd be so much better off if we left the EU. Remember, when we joined the EU, we were the sick man of Europe. We were absolutely a basket case. And throughout the time we belonged to the EU, we got more and more prosperous, and things improved. Generally, the quality of life improved so much during that 45 years. But anyway, Farage started convincing people that we'd be so much better off if we could just leave the EU. Few right-wingers on the in the backbenches of the Tory party, the usual suspects, all started thinking, well, this is a way we can get out of the EU. For some reason or other, these old men, they're all old men, they really hate Europeans. I don't quite know why. I think it's probably because they reckon that Europe should show us more respect. They should recognise our superiority or something. I don't know, but I mean they have this hatred of Europe, and so they thought it was a good time to start campaigning to leave the EU. And of course, we all know Cameron, got cold feet and offered a referendum, and we know what happened after that. And the promise was, and the way the referendum was sold, was that it would enable us to stop immigration, all these terrible people coming from the EU. The idea was that they all came here. And as soon as they got here, they claimed a council flat and they claimed benefits and sat at home doing nothing except when they went to the hospital for free treatment. That was the picture painted. Farage had a big famous a poster, didn't he, of saying that Turkey was about to join the EU, and then 90 million Turks would be eligible to come to the UK. The idea was that sort of millions of Turks were going to suddenly start turning up. There was never any intention of Turkey joining the EU. If they had joined, the chances of that many Turks coming here, probably more English people going to live in Turkey, who knows? But it was not. It was never. It was just a false scare. And so the referendum was sold on immigration. It was sold on being able to do trade deals all over the world. People were, according to Liam Fox and David Davis and various other people were queuing up all over the world, queuing up to do deals with us, trade deals. If only we could break free from what Lord Gormless, our Brexit negotiator, described as the nightmare of EU membership. If we could just break through, we could do all these fantastic trade deals all over the world. And so we were going to be able to control our borders. We were going to be able to do all these trade deals. Everything was going to be absolutely fantastic. And so you look now 10 years on, it's just 10 years, 6 years since the referendum, and you look at the state of things right now. We've put two fingers up to the EU. Our trade with them, I mean, we were previously doing 50% of our trade with the EU. It's dropped by 15%. For small companies, it's virtually impossible to sell to the EU. For people, for us to try and buy from the EU for small quantities, it's almost impossible. In other words, that small trade has finished. Even medium-sized trades. A lot of firms have moved to the EU, as we know, and they're employing Europeans, whereas previously they were employing English people, or British, sorry. And so trade has been very much depleted already. And when your trade drops as much as 15%, that's bottom line, that's profit. So much of that is profit. So firms are making less profit now and consequently paying less taxes. So we're all poorer as a result of that reduction in trade with the EU. For medium-sized firms, I mean, a lot of firms have just moved to the EU and they're employing Europeans instead of employing British people. For larger firms, of course, it doesn't matter because they can cope with all these things. But what Brexit did was it put in place this incredible barrier against trade. This massive bureaucracy that everybody has to go through to deal with the EU. And the consequences of that are really very serious. I'm going to talk about food shortages and food prices in a moment. But just to try and illustrate what Brexit, what it means, imagine somebody's got a shop. And it's a sort of convenience store and you're selling all sorts of things. And you've got a certain amount of customers who come from immediately around your shop, quite near to you. And then quite a lot of your customers come from a bit further away, a few miles away. And they come and see you and they've been dealing with you for years and years and years. And they like you and you like them and you know them, you know what they buy and they know what you've got and so on. And if you get new products in, you say to them, oh, I've got this. And they say, oh, great. Yes, okay, I'll try it. If you say it's okay, I'll try it. Yeah, fine. Everything's absolutely fine. You're doing well, making money. Everybody's happy, your family's happy. And then a local second-hand car dealer comes in one day, and he's a bit of a loudmouth. He's called Mr. Forage. And he says, oh my God, he says, you go to a town 100 miles away, there are opportunities there, you can do so fantastic business, you don't want to worry about this business. This is all your customers, they're all dying off, they're all, you're going to lose all them eventually. The opportunities are 100 miles away in this town. I can tell you about it. Go there, get some opportunities. And a few of the sort of really right-wing of the reactionary of your customers, they also say, yeah, you should go up there. You should go up and try that. Go and try that. And then one day, some sort of joker guy comes in, a fat guy, a sort of scruffy guy, and he's all joker. And he hears that you're thinking of going. He says, yeah, you should go, and all the rest of it. And so you say, yeah, okay. You talk to your wife and you say to her, what about it? And she says, well, if you're certain it's what we should do, yeah, okay. And so you think, well, I'm not going to have enough time to look after the shop properly if I'm going all the way up to this place 100 miles away. So what I'll do, I'll bring in a new system. And I'll bring in this system and I'll make everybody who wants to come to the shop, I'll make them fill out a form before they come in. And then I'll ask them to queue up. Now the form, dealing with the forms and booking the appointments is going to be a bit more complicated. So I'm going to have to put my prices up a little bit to pay for all this new administration. And so you impose this system and your customers all say, goodbye. And they all go away, or a lot of them go away. A few remain. The very local ones who just really need you because they can't go further away. The ones that are a bit further away, they all just say, "Sod, I'm going somewhere else." They go somewhere else. And so you've got your new system, and then you get in your car and you think, right, off we go. And you drive up to this other town about 100 miles away, and you go round trying to find customers. And so you trying to sell stuff. You think, well, I'll try and sell them biscuits. I've got lots of biscuits in the shop. Maybe your wife makes the biscuits that you sell in the shop. So you go round and you start knocking on doors, and they say, "We've got plenty of biscuits, thanks, we're fine." You go to someone, they say, no, everybody around here gets their biscuits from the Chinese guy, the wholesaler. We all get all biscuits from the Chinaman. And so you keep going, and eventually you get to somebody and they say, yeah, okay, all right, I'll have 10 packets of biscuits. And you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, because I've got to send it all this way, I can't sell you 10. I've got to sell you a box. I've got to sell you a gross, 144. Sorry." The guy says, "Well, you must be joking. You're asking me to try your biscuits. I don't know who you are, I don't know anything about you. Come out of the blue. I'm not about 144 packets of biscuits." So you don't get it. And so you go on and you go on and you go on. And eventually, after 15 months, you've got 2 orders. You found somebody, he's an Australian man, he's got a business up there, and he says, "Yeah, I'll buy your biscuits, and I'll buy a gross, yeah, I'll buy 144. The only thing is, you'll have to buy a couple of gross of my crisps." And you think, well, okay. I'm not sure that's going to upset my crisp supplier I've got at the moment back in the shop, but it's more than I want, but okay, all right. So you do a deal. You've got a deal. You do another one. There's another guy who also prepared to do a similar deal. He's a New Zealander. So you've got these 2 deals. You go back to the shop and you haven't got enough customers now because all your local customers have gone. So you haven't got enough money to pay the rent. Things are getting a bit tight, and you can see that things are slipping a bit, and your debts are building up, and all you've got after 15 months is these 2 deals, 100 miles away. You get all the transport to arrange, all the hassle, and you have to buy all this stuff in return. And each time you come back from these trips to this town, you come back, you see your wife and the children, they're all saying, "How's it going? How's it going?" You say, "Yeah, fantastic. Next time, well, it's okay. Well, next." And by the end, they can see, and you can see, and they all know that you've made the craziest, stupidest decision in your life because you've thrown away all your local business in the hope of getting some sort of business 100 miles away. And that really is Brexit. The only different thing is that if you had been that shopkeeper and you really wanted to do a Brexit, you'd have put a sign in your window saying, "No immigrants. We don't want immigrants in the shop. If you want to come in here, an immigrant, you have to show you can speak English, and you have to pay a deposit to come in the shop." That's the only difference. And that is Brexit in a nutshell. And so we're in this mess now, where our exports to the EU are down 15%, as I said earlier. Getting stuff in and out of the country is a complete and utter hassle. We've got enormous problems coming with food prices and shortages of food. There are 3 aspects to the food crisis. The first, and probably the least important, is the Ukrainian invasion, which means that Ukraine, which produces huge quantities of corn and sunflower oil, are probably not going to be producing much this year, and that's going to be a shortage throughout. But the other 2 issues regarding food and food prices are the first, that farmers who in this country last year planted crops and watched them rot in the fields because they couldn't get EU labour to come and harvest them, and English people didn't want to do it, British people didn't want to do it. Or pig farmers, we're seeing this on the news all the time, pig farmers who raised pigs and found that there was nowhere at the abattoir to process them, and have had to kill them and burn them. They're not going to raise pigs this year. So local production, 50% of our food is produced in this country, local production is going to be much reduced. And at the same time, not only have we made it almost impossible for cheap EU labour to come and do the jobs that we don't want to do, like working in the fields, like working in the abattoirs. Not only have we made that impossible, at the same time we've made it so difficult for foreign firms to come here and supply food. 50% of our food is imported. A huge proportion of that is from the EU. And take, for example, we've seen all the news this last week. Even it's so bad that even the BBC has started reporting that there are queues. They don't mention it's anything to do with Brexit. As far as I know, there's nothing to do with Brexit. These huge queues of lorries at Dover. Now, supposing you're a Spanish tomato producer or a French cheese producer or an Italian, I don't know, whatever, pizza producer, and you've been sending stuff to the UK for years and years and years. And what has happened in the past is you've loaded the lorry is driven up to Calais, across to Dover, and then it's driven to where it's got to deliver. It's delivered, got a signature, and turned around and gone home again. Easy peasy. It's been no more difficult for a Spanish tomato producer to supply Berlin than it is to supply Birmingham. Exactly the same process, just different route. But what happens now? You're a Spanish tomato grower. He fills his lorry with tomatoes, and they drive up to Calais, and they sit in the queue whilst they do all the paperwork. Sometimes the queue's longer than others, and there's all this hassle of documentation and so on. It then crosses the channel. Now, at that point, there should be a huge number of checks. But we're not ready because we've only had 6 years since Brexit in order to get ready. So we're not ready, and we're not going to be ready for some time yet. So when the lorry comes off the boat in Dover, it just drives away. So if your lorry's got guns in it, it's got bombs in it, it's got cocaine in it, it's got cigarettes in it, it's got illegal immigrants, fine, off you go. But anyway, our tomato lorry goes off to wherever he's going to deliver, and he delivers, and deals with all the paperwork and so on, gets back in his lorry to come home, drives to Kent, finds he's in a queue, and the queue's 23 miles long. He ain't got enough food to eat, nowhere to buy any food. There's no lavatory, no facilities whatsoever, and he sat in that lorry maybe for 3 days. To relieve himself, he goes and does it on the side of the road, like thousands and thousands of other lorry drivers. The whole of the M20 must be a health hazard, frankly. The number of lorry drivers are relieving themselves, thousands of them, literally thousands of lorry drivers relieving themselves on the side of the road because there are no facilities. And they're all stuck in the queue. And do you know why they're in a queue? Because HMRC have got a computer. They've had 6 years to get this working. A computer to monitor lorries leaving the UK, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. They're hoping to get it working. I think they're hoping to get it working sometime next week. And from the beginning of this year, there have been queues on the M20 trying to get into Dover. And what happens as a consequence of this is that all these lorry drivers go back to wherever they've come from, and they say to their employers, they say, I don't want to take any more loads to the UK. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to sit in a lorry queue where I've got nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and I've got no lavatories. I've got nowhere, if I go to the lavatory, I've got nowhere to wash my hands. I don't want to do that anymore. And the lorry owners, the business owners, they're going to say, why am I going to have my lorry go to England and know it might be stuck there for 3, 4, 5 days, might be stuck for a week? I can't afford to have my lorry sat around him with a driver paying him whilst it sits around. And it's not as though they have to come here. If you're a tomato producer in Spain, you've got 26 other countries you can just drive to. They're all joined up. You can go anywhere. There could well be shortages of food this year as a result of what's happened in Ukraine. Who knows? But even so, you can go anywhere. Why are you going to go to a customer that is so complicated, so difficult, and so expensive to deal with? I can tell you from my experience in business that we all have had experience of difficult customers. You have customers who always complain, always want to send something back, always want to argue about the price, always want to delay payment for some reason or other. Those customers, you get rid of. You say, I don't want to spend my time with one customer. I've got 100 other customers who are perfectly good, perfectly straightforward, easy to deal with, never make any problems. Why am I going to deal with one customer who is so much trouble? Get rid of them. And if you don't get rid of them, the only other alternative is you put all the prices up. You say it costs me twice as much to deal with you, I'll put your prices up twice. And so it is absolutely inevitable, believe me, it is absolutely inevitable that we're going to have less food coming from the EU. And bear in mind, we do not have any controls at the moment. Once we introduce controls, and the government keeps putting it off because they know that the moment they introduce controls, food is going to stop coming to the country. A lot of food is going to stop coming to the country anyway. And then there are going to be shortages and scarcities and everybody's going to go crazy. We have no controls at all on anything coming in. Once it happens, it'll make it so much worse. And so the combination of food not coming from Europe and food not being produced in the UK because of what happened last year, because we can't get labour, because of Brexit. This is all to do 100% with Brexit. And what are we supposed to be doing to make up for all this disaster, this catastrophe? We're supposed to be exploring the big, brave world out there. We're supposed to be going off to Nicaragua and Venezuela and Vietnam and looking for new business. Because of all these opportunities, these people just dying for English goods, dying to do business deals with us. And so it is inevitable. It's inevitable that we are going to get poorer. We're going to struggle more. Things are going to get more and more difficult. There's an alternative. And even now, the government will not allow people coming into this country. And I mean, look at how our reputation has been damaged all over the world. Look at it. I mean, absolute laughingstock. Historians for hundreds of years all over the world are going to look back at Brexit and say this is the stupidest decision any country has ever made. This such massive self-harm, this one act of absolute madness that is causing so much hardship, so much damage, not only to the economy but to our reputation. And we just are a laughingstock. I get a lot of comments to these emails, and I'm always very, very grateful. I read every single one of them. I just don't have the time to respond. But yesterday, whilst I was thinking about what I was going to say today, I noticed I'd got a comment which I thought I'd read to you because it's from a person in Denmark. And I think this, in a way, this sums up the way the world is looking at us. And, when you look at Johnson, you look at him, he thinks he's leading the world in everything, and global Britain is an influence in the world and so on. And you saw him at that NATO meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago where he stood around in his Benny Hill suit, which he doesn't quite fit in, and with his ruffled hair and rumpled shirt collar and so on his own, and nobody really wanted to talk to him, and hands in his pockets and looking like a complete loser. And the world sees this, and the world watches what's going on, because for anybody, this is a fantastic soap opera, watching a country self-destruct. And anyway, this is what this guy from Denmark said. The current British government has become my replacement for Fawlty Towers to the tune of Benny Hill. PMQs are the ultimate expression of this circus made up entirely of clowns. And he puts this in capitals, everyone is watching it. And that's true. We have our reputation as that of a crazy country. And when, with our Home Secretary, we are being so harsh on these Ukrainian people who are escaping all the atrocities, these women and children, we're making it so difficult, deliberately making it so difficult for them to come here when the rest of Europe is just opening up and welcoming them with wide open arms, and we're making it so difficult, being so harsh and so tough on it. And where we know we desperately need people to work in the fields, we need people to work in the abattoirs, we need people to work in care homes, we need people to work in the hospitality industry, we need all these people, some of the 200,000 EU workers who peacefully worked here and paid their taxes and then went home previously. We're working so hard to stop them coming here. it's just economic suicide. And what's the response of the government? Well, they want to try and stifle all criticism. You can't demonstrate, and you can't print. You're not going to be able to print in due course, any information obtained from whistleblowers and so on. And the press is a largely right-wing press, and they're all going along with this nonsense. Anything that goes wrong, nothing is blamed on Brexit. It's all the pandemic, or it's the war in Ukraine, or it's the way the wind is blowing, or whatever. It's never Brexit. Whereas Brexit is responsible for all this mess. Anyway, that's what I have to say about it. And if you've watched this far, thank you very much. I can't sort of end on an optimistic tone. I can't say let's hope we can all sort things out, because it's not sort-outable. We're just in a terrible, terrible mess, and we're just pushing on in this terrible mess. And heaven help us all. But it's all very sad. If you approve what I say, I'd be grateful if you hit the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, I'd be very grateful if you would do. And so until next time, bye for now.